Hello, my name is Exibu, and this is Unity of Command 2 Barbarossa DLC Vyazma-Rzhev mission. 3, 2, 1. Alright, let's see what we have today. Today we have Vyazma-Rzhev, isn't it? So, I'm really happy with the fact that I really didn't have to change my strategy in this game from classic to hard. It's pretty much the same thing, and, well, the obvious bit, the obvious parts, as we actually looking at the and some of the pre-battle changes I'm making, and as you can see, I'm adding crap loads of artillery to the infantry that will do the first strike, and obviously one of the initial obvious prongs of attack will be from Yelnya, and I'm giving like crap loads of artillery to these guys, and to my opinion, the attack from Yelnya is effectively the hardest part of this entire mission. There's a lot that can go wrong, and you can get screwed over by weather. And it took me a few tries to do this on hard, even though I knew that I had the right strategy, and you will see right now what happens. But I got very, very unlucky. Like, not very good rolls, or like consistently bad rolls. By the way, six suppression. That's from 2 21 centimeter mortars. Yes, that's insane, and they deal quite a lot of damage. I really enjoy this. If you know, if you're familiar with my work, with my overviews and reviews and stuff, you know that I love artillery, and I love when there's a crap load of them that just destroys everything and just nothing left. There's nothing left to talk about. Alright, and I'm gradually moving. So after taking Belly, it's a requirement for turn 1, and you must rush north as far as you can. A little motorized division must die, or at least retreat away from that river. Okay, and I'm gradually moving into that breach in Yelnya. This is very critical. It's very critical that you get as far as you can, especially with those artillery-equipped infantry, because they do deliver lots of damage, especially in difficult terrain. As far as I can't actually give specific numbers. I should look it up in the manual, but in certain types of terrain, the tanks, not surprisingly, are weaker than infantry, or are less efficient than infantry. And here I'm like this. What I'm doing right now is not that necessary. I'm building a bridge there. I found that on hard, it may somehow alter the actions of the AI. Plus, that bridge makes it easier for these two motorized divisions to actually come into the action quicker. Otherwise, I'm not doing anything serious. These guys in the north will have to sit for some time, even though at some point they'll be rather critical, as we will see. All right, let's see what the Soviets do. So they kind of reshuffle everything, so moving everything about. If you don't know, effectively the objectives in the center of the map, i.e. Rzhev, Vyazma, and, well, eponymous Rzhev and Vyazma, and Yukhnov are actually or Yukhnov, I suspect the correct pronunciation is, or correcter pronunciation is, are the most difficult ones. Yukhnov is, you have to take it, but Vyazma-Rzhev, you can get stuck. And especially in hard, because the defenders, if the defenders are left with all of their supplies, you effectively can't take those objectives, especially Rzhev. But Vyazma-Rzhev, because they will be surrounded by crap loads of enemy troops, and the only way to blast through them, even with your top units, is to deny them supply first. Which we will see, actually. I think this is one of the most impressive, even more impressive than Kiev. I like this more because it's a harder mission than Kiev. And it's a more impressive denial of supply, if you wish. So the Soviets are doing lots of reshuffling. They've got crap loads of troops. And there's just no way around recording this. I really like the replay feature in Unity of Command 2, because makes so many things easier for me. But yeah, on these huge missions, the Soviets do lots of things that you normally don't see, and well, prolonging the inevitable and the duration of my of these videos. Anyway, but it still might be interesting to see how the AI thinks, what it tries to do, because And this is what needs to be done. As you saw, as you've seen, I destroyed the bridge next to Ostashkov, and now that I've cut that other railway line, everything west of it, anything west of my breach, is out of supply. And this is critical because I will continue advancing towards... these tanks will go towards Rzhok and Kalinin, and they will need some supply. I obviously have oversupply and everything, but it will not last forever. And eventually, it's a good idea to actually... There is a railway which you can use for supply, but you need to clear the way. The Soviets are obstructing it, but given that you will force them out of supply, deny them the supplies, you will be able to actually, well, get your own supplies there to that far-reaching advance with your tanks. And so I'm gradually moving in. This is not a perfect actually playthrough. This is not my best try and taking Yuknov. The Soviets managed to take positions in the forests, and I really don't want to lose sustain any significant losses for my tanks. Remember that these tanks will carry over to the Moscow mission. And while I didn't find it to be the most difficult one, even though the scenario designer has told me that, just try the standalone version. I haven't tried it. I'm kind of really scared of checking it out, but I probably eventually will. If the game scenario designer says, okay, you go and check it, I go and check it. So, but still, even in the campaign, and I don't know what it's going to look like on hard, but on classic, it's not as frustrating and difficult as Odessa, but it can beat you up. There's a lot happening there. The Soviets are overwhelmed, like pretty much have a numerical superiority. You need to fight against pretty bad odds, and I'm really the better your tanks are by the end of the gates of Moscow mission, the better. So I prefer not to lose too much. Here it is important. Alright, so the Soviets are entrenching. As you can see, they're actually bunching up those troops around Vyazma-Rzhev, and blasting through them is difficult, especially Vyazma. Look at both of them. Both of them, they're not just surrounded by enemy divisions, they're surrounded by forests, the damn forests. You can't really use your tanks properly there. And so... you need to essentially use some sort of bypass this objective. This obstacle, right? So somehow use something less orthodox, or pretty orthodox for unity of command, i.e. denying them supply. By the way, that move towards Kaluga was a very lucky one, so the AI made a mistake there, and it's always a good idea to sit in a hex next to an objective that you're planning to take in the future, so that you really don't have to waste movement points to enter that hex, so you already have access to that objective. I will not be able to take Kaluga for some time. It will take me some, actually, tank losses, but I will take it pretty early. And this is what I'm trying to do. I'm already trying to exploit the lack of supply of my enemies. I did not hope to actually force them out, but I was hoping I would at least deal some suppression damage, because, well, they will not recover from it because of the lack of supply. And I'm actually kind of playing the long game here, because my tank is still in supply thanks to the Soviets. Even though sometimes this is slightly the capture of supply hubs is a slightly gamey feature. One of the gamier features of Unity of Command. It's fun. It's interesting. It's good for the game, but okay, maybe it's not fuel. The Soviets use all sorts of fuels, but not okay. Maybe fuel, maybe food, right? So water and everything, and maybe medications and stuff. But everything else, weaponry, no. The tanks, if they ran out of ammunition, of shotgun shells, of artillery shells, yeah, it's not gonna happen. It's no matter how much Soviet equipment to capture, you will not be able to replace the gun in the field and everything. No, it's not gonna happen. So it's slightly gamey, but it's a nice feature, and it's definitely one of the important and fun elements of the what I consider to be one of the best things about this game. Its supply system, and yeah. So, on turn 3, the Soviets are still kind of entrenching and getting stronger and stronger. Like, these crowds are really impossible to clear, especially since you are not reaching them until maybe turn 5 or 6, and we'll see how it goes. So, Kalinin is mine. Generally, I found that the Soviets don't really try to take Kalinin. Okay, and I got lucky there, so I forced these guys to retreat. I found the Soviets don't try to retake Kalinin. You really don't need to leave anyone guarding it. So the Soviets are really... The AI is focused on Vyazma-Rzhev. They will try to retake these objectives. They might try to retake Mozhaisk, and you will see I actually made a little mistake there, which I thankfully will have corrected. But Kalinin, you can leave it and not bother guarding it. Especially that specific area is not easy in terms of supply. And so yes, Yuknov is mine on turn 4 very difficultly. And thankfully I was able to kind of clear the bridgehead around it. Sometimes, like, I've had playthroughs or attempts at a playthrough of this mission where I took Yuknov, but the Soviets just had very strong motorized divisions with heavy tank steps on the actually exactly that motorized division like next to Yuknov, which I've damaged right now. But if it were in the forest hex across the river, it would be just impossible to kill. So I had bad luck there. But this time it went really smoothly. I'm really happy about how it turned out. It doesn't happen always or often, but I've seen that, and it was really annoying. Because essentially, if you can't, move past Yuknov on the same turn on turn 4, you probably are not doing it right, and you will have a lot of trouble trying to take Kaluga and Vyazma, because Mozhaisk, as we will see, I think next turn, Mozhaisk is empty, and pretty much always is. I think I've seen Mozhaisk not being empty on Classic some time ago, but it was just once, and it may have been... I think it was just that I somehow managed to take it or approach it much earlier than it was anticipated, like the scenario designers, the creators, anticipated, and there were just reinforcements that were supposed to go to Vyazma, and I managed to intercept them there. Well, annoyingly, actually, it wasn't great for me at that point. But otherwise, yeah, don't worry about Mozhaisk being occupied. So you can actually send, if you have a weaker tank division. I actually have one, so with 2 steps, and I don't know what I'm going to do with it. But, well, reinforce, obviously, but I should have sent it there, because, well, that's the best use for it. It's not good for any battles. Certainly not on hard. And so Mozhaisk is mine. Totally empty. And now, finally, I can establish supply via this railway. So, right now, I'm getting supply via the entire... Up to Torzhok, I'm getting supplies. Full supplies, perfect. Full, perfect, great, wonderful supplies via the railway. And so I'm actually clearing another railway, which actually will be somewhat useful to me, because that clear division, the mechanized division next to Panzergruppe 3 HQ, is going to be somewhat useful in my... Like, I did something like I didn't usually try, and it worked out pretty well, so we'll see in a couple of turns. Alright, and here I'm just gradually fighting. This is not really necessary for the mission. I'm just trying to grab some experience for these guys. I'm specifically selecting divisions that still will participate in future missions, and it will pretty much always be missions that will participate in the gates of Moscow. And even having strong infantry is valuable there, like elite infantry. Having as many elite infantry units as I can by the gates of Moscow is actually a good objective, additional kind of informal objective for this mission. Okay, and this is my attempt, successful attempt at getting Kaluga. I actually got a little bit lucky here. I think I forced that division to retreat. It wasn't a high chance, it was like 50-50. But it was worth it. I lost some tanks, But as you can see, Kaluga has to be taken on turn 7, so I had plenty of time to actually infantry approaching the town, so it wasn't going to be a problem, I think. But at this point, actually, I managed to deal with Kaluga, and I was only left with Vyazma-Rzhev to take, well, and Ostashkov to win this mission. Well, Ostashkov is not difficult, and I really didn't take it. At this point, I refused to take it. I just didn't want to take any losses. But right now, it's really easy. These guys have already been out of supply, kind of semi-suppressed, and, well, they've got some supply across the river, but it's not very secure, so they are partially suppressed. So if I really wanted to, I could, but it's like the deadline is turn 10, so I really didn't need to worry about it. I didn't. So yeah. And plus, it gives you an engineer. If you're wondering, it's actually one of the things that I kind of regret not including in my cracking videos. Just letting the viewers know what specific secondary objectives give you. Because some of them are obvious. Rzhev give you just gives you an additional prestige, like 50 prestige. But certain objectives, like the stuff that gives you specialist steps, cards, I wish I did tell. I wish I did tell actually what they give, because sometimes it's important, sometimes it's important for planning missions. Because, okay, so my general approach with cards, for example, is I try to, for example, keep one trucks card always, right? So, and just in case, if I suddenly need it, or if I somehow like trying to figure a mission out. Oh, by the way, Ostashkov is not yet mine. But I'm getting to it, and so, for example, if I'm finding it hard to figure a mission out, and I see that I don't have enough supply, so I can use the card just to figure the mission out, just so that I don't need to worry about the supply and just try to figure out the battle itself. But and if I know that the mission is gonna have, for example, give me a trucks card. Somewhere like there's an objective that gives me a truck card. I will just use that truck card right from the start, because I know that it's going to be replenished. I'm going to get it returned. So it's an important bit of information, but unfortunately, these otherwise brilliant replays don't show you what you get as part of the objectives, right? These kinds of objectives. And I just kept forgetting to write it down as I played these missions. So unfortunately, I'm just not including that stuff in my cracking videos. But it would have been a good idea. Probably, I'm not gonna do it in my last video. It's just like at the time of this recording, I haven't yet published my. Well, by the way, published my last video, my fourth cracking video about this DLC. But when the 2x2 do their next DLC, which I'm sure they will, I'll try to do that with my cracking videos for it. But this is turn 7, and I've finally actually taken Vyazma, and I've been very lucky. As you can see, it's very important to send that infantry from the south. Do not rely just on the tanks, because even though these guys have been 2 turns out of supply, they still feel great. They're well entrenched, they're sitting in the forest, and it's very difficult to actually reach the town. Even with these weakened, they're not weakened enough. And I've actually had situations, like, I don't think I've been able to completely force them out of supply, but I think it would be even still difficult if all of these guys were completely out of supply, like 3 turns out of supply. It would be still completely, like, not entirely impossible for you to fail to reach Vyazma, even if these guys are completely out of supply. Especially if the weather is crap, so if there are patches of mud there. So I highly recommend you to use your infantry from the south and advance them directly north towards Vyazma. Especially these guys. These are the guys that, like, were in your initial push. They should have, like mine, they should have crap loads of artillery there. So they should be very, very powerful, very potent in destroying the Soviets and, like, breaking through. Like, it's not just about, like, killing the Soviet troops there. It's also about, like, Okay, so the tanks have done it. The tanks have cleared this hex, but they can't move in. And suddenly you have that very humble... By the way, I lost Mozhaisk. That humble infantry, I'll get to it. I was pissed off at that. I was thinking I would lose the mission, but I used everything I had just to kick them out. Yeah, so you cleared the mission, you cleared the objective, say, in Vyazma, and you just have no one to fill it. But then there is this humble infantry that can actually is free. It has its all of its movement points. It's nearby, and you can take the objective. So use that little paved road there. So between Vyazma and Kirov, definitely don't miss it. It's absolutely an avenue for success and for winning this mission. Back to Mozhaisk. I don't have much time to talk about it, but actually Mozhaisk is one of the things they changed since release, because back when I played my original classic playthrough, I played and succeeded in this mission on classic for the first time. Actually, Mozhaisk, Kalinin, and Kaluga and Vyazma were all on turn 7 objectives. And this is why I was so pissed off at seeing the Soviets actually taking Mozhaisk back. And actually, well, it wasn't my mistake. I actually left it empty, and the Soviets exploited that. But thankfully, they changed the deadline for Mozhaisk. So it's now turn 9. Actually, it's not difficult to take it, as you have seen, I took it, on turn 5, so it's not difficult to take it by turn 7. It's an easy objective. But now they've kind of changed it, and I'm suspecting it might also have to do with maybe with easier levels of difficulty, maybe less experienced players who are not expected to take Vyazma, for example, and they will take some more time to take Mozhaisk. They're not looking for, secondary objectives. By the way, note the Lear division, the motorized division next to Rzhev. I actually brought it through that road and used my Panzergruppe 3 HQ to supplies and to help it out. So it's kind of it's another road that you can use to approach these two objectives, because Rzhev and Vyazma are the most difficult objectives, as you have seen. So they've got crap loads of defenders. There's lots of difficult terrain and often mud. So you need to be careful there, and you need to focus everything you do to capturing these objectives, because the rest, as you've seen, if you just do things right, they're not difficult. Approaching Rzhev and Vyazma, concentrating your forces there is critical in succeeding in this mission. And I think this is pretty much it. I'm just doing this recreational stuff. I haven't taken Ostashkov yet. But I'm gonna do it in the next few seconds, and let's end this mission. So thank you for watching and hopefully listening, and until, I'm guessing, tomorrow.